We have booster ignition and liftoff of Space Shuttle Columbia.
It was the most stirring moment.
Talking miles and miles of debris.
There was the feeling of real despair for the loss of these pioneers, these scientists.
It's an event that East Texas is unlikely to ever forget. 10 years ago this morning, the Space Shuttle Columbia broke apart over East Texas, killing all 7 astronauts on board. This morning, our coverage continues with our very own Luckie, who is live in Hemphill, where East Texans are remembering the lives lost. Good morning.
Good morning, Dia. This very morning, the Columbia was just 15 minutes from landing in Florida at the Kennedy Space Center. It was flying about 200,000 feet above East Texas, and at 7:59 a.m. on February 1st, 2003, Mission Control lost contact with the Columbia and her crew. A short time later, it was certain that the Columbia was lost. Now, this morning will be a solemn memorial for those crew members, those 7 brave astronauts. Family members of the crew, NASA officials, local dignitaries, and community members all will gather here at First Baptist Church of Hemphill, right here in the heart of downtown. And at 7:30, they're going to gather here in the Family Life Center to look back at the sacrifice in their lives and also take a look forward at how far the community has come and what this event truly means in the hearts of the people of Sabine County. It doesn't end, though, with the memorial. This weekend, they'll be recording stories of people who came from across East Texas and even across the nation in a critical time. And it's critical to the legacy of Columbia to have these things preserved. And with that in mind, the NASA Museum here in Hemphill, it's going to be videoing people's reflections and memories of the recovery effort. Ham radio operators will also be there taking part in a special project. There's also a NASA art exhibit, photographs of all of the shuttle fleet over the years in the downtown bistro on the Hemphill Square. And on Saturday, a memorial walk will begin at the Columbia Memorial Star and make its way downtown. And all of these activities, they'll be back on Saturday along with a golf tournament and plenty of exhibits and vendors on the downtown square. And as you can tell, NASA is really trying to help East Texans connect to the current mission of the space agency. Public support is critical to the future of the space program. All weekend, Driven to Explore, a mobile exhibit, it'll be set up on the downtown square. It's designed for people of all ages, and it highlights NASA's past and future missions. You'll get an up-close look at some of the next-generation vehicles that could one day explore the surface of Mars or even the moon. Hey, and speaking of, visitors can even touch a 3-billion-year-old moon rock brought back aboard Apollo 17. It was the last manned mission to the moon in 1972. It's one of only about 8 moon rocks in the world that the public can actually touch with their bare hands. So this free exhibit, it aims to show how NASA provides critical technology and advances that improve life here on Earth. Now, after this weekend's commemoration, it's up to East Texans to preserve the legacy of these 7 brave astronauts, and much of that responsibility falls on the Patricia Huffman Smith NASA Columbia Memorial Museum. And this morning, I'm taking you inside for a look at one story that few people know outside of Hemphill.
Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people.
3 verses from the book of Joshua, forever etched in stone. Scripture greets every visitor to the Patricia Huffman Smith NASA Museum, held dear by Columbia's crew and later recovery volunteers like Marcia Cooper. You see, the day after the shuttle broke apart, the pastor of First Baptist Church of Hemphill read chapter 1, verses 6 through 9 to a crowd of searchers.
And Mark Kelly, the astronaut, walked up to Brother Fred and said, "Did you know that Rick's husband, read that scripture to them before they lifted off?"
The night before the launch, the crew's families gathered for a final supper. Commander Husband quoted those verses by memory.
Was it a coincidence? I believe in God, so I think it was God that worked that out.
In the same spirit, students are now learning of the sacrifice made in the pursuit of knowledge. Classes are taught through video conferencing live by NASA's Johnson Space Center. Visitors can walk through each of Columbia's 28 missions, including her final flight. Family of the STS-107 crew have even donated personal belongings on display as a permanent memorial. NASA has even donated surplus shuttle parts to illustrate how Columbia met its demise. Now, during liftoff, Columbia was impacted by frozen foam, which created a hole in these wing panels, which were located here along the leading edge of the wing. The Sabine County Columbia Memorial Committee works to embody those words through any activity, any event or memorial.
Even when we meet with the families, we read Joshua 1:6-9.
Their work continues to make sure future generations know about the day their mission became our mission. Now, the community has actually come to embrace this tragedy and their role that they played, how it brought people together, it brought out the best in each other, and all of that, it's on permanent display at the Columbia Museum here in Hemphill. It's open 7 days a week. Dia, back to you.
All right, thanks, Lane, for that live report this morning.